For our preliminary task, we was told to go out and film a short conversation between two people. In that, we did not use a tripod whatsoever, so all of the shots were really shaky, there was wobbling, and it just looked so unprofessional. In our OTS, we gained more experience and we actually chose to use a tripod, which made it look way better and more professional.
In our preliminary task, we didn't do any storyboard or script, we just kind of improvised a lot of it. Like, we thought of lots of it on the spot and it didn't look very organised, like, in the slightest. But when it came to our OTS, we did a lot of planning. We wrote like 3 different scripts, like God knows how many storyboards, and we just put so much more time into it, and due to that we've just come out with a much better product.
In our preliminary task, there was quite a few continuity errors. One of them being was when Sam walked through the door and he suddenly appeared in a completely different place. It looked unprofessional and it just looked a bit odd, really. But in our OTS, we paid more attention to how we can
avoid errors.
Avoid errors like that. And so in our OTS, we kept on refilming shots to make sure that there was no continuity errors whatsoever.
In our preliminary task, another bad point of it was the acting. Like, I was one of the actors, and rewatching it, I can just tell that I just did terrible. Like, Macaulay not so much, but like still, we didn't really explore actors. We kind of just used ourselves in the group. We didn't like go out and get people that could actually act. And we didn't really see who could and couldn't act in our group. We just jumped straight to it. Whereas in our OTS, we kind of settled on Brandon being the actor because he was probably the only one that could actually pull it off and be convincing about what he did.
Yeah.
Like, so that was kind of like a big jump for us from having people that just couldn't act to someone who could pretty much pull it off pretty well.
Another bad point in our preliminary task was that we didn't have any titles whatsoever in the video. So anyone who was watching it, apart from us, didn't have a clue what was going on. It just looked like a mess. But in our OTS, we obviously gained a bit of knowledge, and we decided to put in titles such as the actual title of the film itself and credits. So like the actors, the producers, and all of that good stuff.
Also in our preliminary task, we didn't really have much editing. We had very, very basic, like just chopping up some clips and then putting them together. Like, there was no transitions, and it just looked very jumpy and just terrible, really. Whereas with our OTS, we spent ages experimenting with all different kinds of like effects, like transitions and all the different lighting effects you can use. And due to that, it just looks a lot better than what we've like previously produced.
Once again in our preliminary task, we didn't include any non-diegetic sound or music at all. It was literally all just from the raw footage. It was all diegetic, and we could have made our preliminary task a lot better if we had included some more like sound. But in our OTS, we used quite a lot of musics and different soundtracks, and like we mixed them together, and to just give basically like a better atmosphere.
The last point in our preliminary task was the camera shots we used. They were very basic. We only had 3. We had a close-up, a mid-shot, and an over-the-shoulder. And because of that, it just looked really, really dull. But with our OTS, we decided to experiment with a lot more shots. Like, we used off-kilter and POV shots that just like looked really good. Like, even though some of the shots we did try didn't make it into the final piece, it was still good to have them anyway, because it showed like the extra bit of work we tried to do.
It gave us more of an option.
Yeah, like it's always better to have like a wider range of shots. Like, we also took like a lot more shots of the same thing over and over and over again just to see how it would look and pick the best ones.